Diaspora's selective support crippled the Amhara struggle. A young Fano fighter bleeds out on the side of a dusty road, his body left where it fell. Because his comrades have no vehicle, no medicine, and no strength left to carry him. In the diaspora, thousands of miles away, Amharas argue on social media and Zoom meetings over which faction deserves their donations. The young man dies while his supposed brothers and sisters abroad debate which faction deserves $100. The Amhara struggle is not losing its momentum because its fighters lacked courage. On the ground, young men and women give everything. They fight with their bare hands against a state armed to the teeth. They endure hunger, massacres, drone attacks, and displacement with a dignity the world refused to see. What strangled the struggle was not weakness at home, but betrayal abroad. The diaspora had every chance to be the voice of the people, to lobby in foreign capitals, to provide consistent support, to keep the world from looking away. Instead, it became one of the greatest obstacles to the very struggle it claimed to support. The flow of money tells this story most clearly. Resources are not distributed according to need or sacrifice, but according to factional loyalty. Even the most influential among us, those who could change the fate of entire towns with a single donation, chose instead to give selectively. Some Fano organizations are funded, others starved, even though all die the same way. All bleed the same way. All are hunted by the same regime. What does it leave a fighter when his people abroad decide he is unworthy of bread, unworthy of support, unworthy of survival? It leaves him as prey, exposed on the battlefield, his town left undefended, his blood left to water the soil alone. Imagine the level of evil it requires to send money to one Fano group and refuse another not. Because their cause is different, but because of petty allegiances, propaganda and grudges. Other people in history understood this. South Africans in exile fought bitterly over ideology, but they did not let whole regions collapse for lack of funds. The Irish diaspora in America was divided over politics, yet never made hunger the price of loyalty. Armenians, scattered across continents, never said that one community's suffering was less deserving of relief than another's. Even the Tigrayan diaspora, in our own time, managed to put aside its internal differences long enough to fund lobbying campaigns and humanitarian relief that forced the world to pay attention. The Amhara diaspora alone seems capable of such cruelty that starves one's own brothers to make a political point. The same betrayal is reflected in the media. Instead of truth, the public is fed propaganda. Diaspora outlets present fantasy victories while hiding devastating losses. They cheerlead one faction and vilify another. But propaganda does not feed the hungry or arm the defenseless or advance the Amhara cause. When the Armenian diaspora publicized their people's suffering, they forced governments to act. By contrast, Amhara diaspora media buries reality under factional spin, leaving the people in ignorance and the people at home abandoned. What lies beneath these choices is moral bankruptcy. It is not strategy to decide who eats and who starves. It is not leadership to lie to your own people about their suffering. It is not political understanding to imagine that empty propaganda can replace diplomacy. The factions they divide with such passion are, in truth, brothers. Tomorrow they may reconcile, as history has forced bitter rivals to reconcile before. But what will not be forgotten is the diaspora's role in starving them of resources, in denying them even $100 that could have saved a man willing to die for Amharas as a whole. For clarity, chief among those who divide Fano are not the ordinary Amharas living abroad, but the elite, the advocacy organizations that operate factionally, politically motivated media personalities who manipulate narratives to serve personal agendas, and self-appointed leaders who treat donations as instruments of control rather than aid. These are the individuals and institutions whose selective support fractures the resistance. The average diaspora member may give in good faith, but the orchestration of favoritism, the amplification of propaganda, and the calculated withholding of funds all stem from this small but influential groups, a group that has prioritized politics over people and in doing so contributed to the crisis in the Amhara struggle. This is how the struggle has been weakened not only by bullets from the regime, but by betrayal from the diaspora's selective moral and financial support. And it is a betrayal of such depth that it demands not just reflection, but shame. The diaspora must one day answer not to politicians or historians, but to the faces of the young men they starved. That is the ledger now, and no amount of propaganda can erase it.